while he was a car mechanic and all that, he was also interested in technology, which allowed me to get a hold of a computer and everything. Past couple of years, we found out that a lot of businesses were struggling. We can bring on potential leads, right? Leads is a big term, but they didn't know how to take those leads and convert them into clients. Yeah, so there's two parts of it. One is understand the psychology of when someone is interested, are you able to respond to them fast enough? Because then it doesn't come across as spammy, it comes across as you're attentive to their needs.
And that's next on Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. So, the big question is this. How are ambitious people like us, who don't have a lot of resources, did not go to Ivy League colleges, were not born into wealth, how do we become resourceful enough? Use our creativity, our dedication, and a little bit of crazy to bootstrap our way to realizing our dreams. Whether it is launching a new company, launching a new app, or making it to the top of the corporate ladder. That is the question. And this podcast will give you the answers. Do not forget to hit that like button now. Or if you want us to improve our content, go ahead and hit the thumbs down button and give us your feedback in the comment section below. Here at Tetranoodle, we are passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. Every week, we bring you insightful and engaging interviews, tips, tricks, and strategies to help you grow your business or rise in your corporate profession. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. And do not forget to hit that bell icon so that you are notified when we publish new content. Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams show. I'm your host Manuj Aggarwal, and today we will be talking with Robin Alex. So Robin has walked the entire path from being a techie guy who developed software and worked in server administration tasks to then go on to customer service and finally becoming a successful entrepreneur offering software tools to automate the process of digital marketing. Robin is the owner and CEO of InnovateFast, a firm located in Dallas, Texas, a business that helps scale businesses through sales and marketing. Welcome, Robin. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, great. So why don't we get to know you first? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background. Seems like you have varied interests from technology to server administration and now digital marketing. So tell us about that journey.
Yeah, so since a young age, I've been the typical Indian kid who, it was easy for me to get a hold of a computer and try to figure it out as quick as possible back when, Windows 3.1 was around, Windows 95 and all that. My dad was, he was a car mechanic and all that. He was also interested in technology, which allowed me to get a hold of a computer and everything. And so from there, it was always, how can I be ahead of the curve in whatever way possible? By the time I was in high school, it was, online gaming was very popular and stuff like that. And I got into the online gaming world and actually offering hosting servers all around the world for different people. And by the time I was 19, I had the fortunate experience of selling that company. Oh. And what was interesting, the company that I sold it to actually sold it a couple of years later to Rackspace, which of course is a large organization there. So it was kind of cool to see in that at a very young age and how that worked out. From there, I went to school at Texas A&M University and had the opportunity working with a company who was a subsidiary of SAP. So there's Oracle and SAP. And I learned a lot about software development and what you have to do there. And we actually built out a piece of software that I was on the team of, and we actually got in a little bit of a trouble because what the software was doing was logging into Oracle software on behalf of clients and downloading all their update packages. Mm-hmm. And of course, through IP, litigation and all that, SAP just said they didn't want to deal with it because Oracle sent them a $1 billion lawsuit. And in that world, that sort of stuff happens all the time, but it just wasn't worth their time. So they ended up shutting down the company. And through that shutdown process, they allowed me to learn about software administration and the servers and how it all kind of works in the core. So I just kind of learned these different things along the way, in different circumstances. from there, I turned into becoming an IT consultant, helping businesses really try to figure out how to build up infrastructures, how to, network multi-location around the world, things like that. What was interesting in the early late 2000s going into 2010 and all that, companies were spending a lot of money in IT, $100,000, $200,000 a month in expenditure just in hardware, right? And then you have the consulting putting it all together and stuff like that. So mostly for small businesses that were, anywhere in the $5 to $10 million range. That's a lot of money that they're shelling out. They didn't know why they needed it. They just knew that they needed to do it. And those same expenditures were happening in marketing, right? You needed a website, and a basic 5-page website, someone could walk in at that time and say, this website's going to cost you $100,000 to build. Yeah. And no one had any justification to it. No one could question it. And it was signing checks. So the nice thing about being a consultant and building up a lot of rapport with our clients, they would usually come to me and say, hey, can you help with these projects? Do you know anything about it? Obviously, you know a lot about computers. You can help with websites and all that. And through there, I started getting up, projects over time and building out databases, building out websites and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I transitioned into the marketing space. Well, at least the first foray into it. So what I learned was that it turned into a feast and famine mode. And in the feast and famine, right? Like you sign a big project and you're like, oh, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to do great with this. And you stop selling, right? So now it's just focus on this. And once that project is done, your client's done, right? There's very little to be back on that level again. So now you're selling again. It takes time to ramp up and build it up. And so what I learned was for me to really turn this into going from a freelancer, trying to turn it into a business to let's turn this into a real business. I needed to figure out how I can get into a business's revenue line, which is really focusing in on their ability to acquire clients, which is more on the marketing, sales, strategy, and delivery side. So that's where we, built out InnovateFast, and now we focus a lot on paid strategy, through PPC, Facebook ads, Snapchat, all these different aspects and running advertisements. And that's how we were able to grow businesses. Now we're also doing websites, video services, and all that. Past couple of years, we found out that a lot of businesses were struggling. We can bring them potential leads, right? Leads is a big term, but they didn't know how to take those leads and convert them into potential clients for themselves. So that's where we built out a piece of software. Software is called Go High Level. And really it's meant we actually built it for agencies because we tried to sell it to businesses, but businesses didn't know how to use it. Obviously they didn't know how to sell in the first place. They didn't know how to use follow-up. They didn't know all these different issues. And so we basically took a step back and said, let's give it to agencies. Let's empower them so that they can help retain their clients because they run into the same exact issue. And so from there, the past couple months, we've scaled up to over 600 agencies using the software and over 7,000, small to medium-sized businesses using the platform now.
Nice, very cool. So tell us a little bit about automation. So, I'm hearing a lot about digital marketing automation. Seems like you are doing a lot in that space as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so one of the things is speed to lead, right? Getting leads is one aspect, right? And when we talk about automation in that world, it's running paid traffic or even on a website or whatever. You want to be able to collect that information. And not only just collect it, but what is the next thing that's happening? Starting out, it's usually manual, right? You receive an inbound notification that someone's interested, you're going to shoot them off an email. Well, the struggle that we had is that most people took 2 days to respond back or a couple of hours or whatever. But the speed to lead is really important. You have anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes to capture someone's attention and respond to them, engage them, right? So the other statistic that we also look at is that sometimes it takes 7 to 12 touches before they even respond. Yeah. So think about that. You have a short amount of time to reach out to them, and you have to touch them, in different aspects, whether it's text, email, phone call, whatever. 7 to 12 times before they're ready to respond. Yeah. So we needed to figure out a way to be able to do that so that businesses don't do it themselves because they just won't. And so we took all of the leads that were coming in and we were passing it on to the business and trying to automate it one-on-one. But we needed a better way to have accountability to our clients. And that's where we built the automation out for our clients through high level. So now we're doing stuff to where when a lead comes in, we're calling their front desk and it's picking up, hey, you have a new lead from Facebook, press 1 and we'll connect you. So now we're calling, they press 1 and it calls. If that person doesn't answer, they can hang up and the system will call the person again and leave them a ringless voicemail. Right? So you don't even have to leave a voicemail. Then we're just automating text messages and emails. And our automation is just constantly going, and maybe it might be over a 6-month period, but it's just constantly sending feelers out until you respond. And then we start getting into AI, right? Because most people who respond, it's usually positive affirmation, like yes, yeah, cool, whatever, and no intent, right? Like no, not interested, leave me alone, right? You have a negative connotation. So we can actually key off of those and build other automation responses based on that. So it's almost like an AI form of bots, but all done through SMS and email and calling, those sort of touches.
Thanks a lot for those details. Now, one of the things that, a lot of people get worried about in this kind of scenario is spamming people. If we send too many touch points, too many messages, people get annoyed. So how do you get around those issues?
Yeah, so there's 2 parts of it. One is understand the psychology of when someone is interested, are you able to respond to them fast enough? Because then it doesn't come across as spammy, it comes across as you're attentive to their needs. The other question that we come about is, okay, we're sending too many messages. So it's how do you spread it out, but being effective along the way, and your messaging has to be very concise and personal. If you can hit those 3 pain points, it doesn't come across as spammy. And so what I mean by that is if I send Manuj a text message and saying, hey, I'm with a company, are you available to talk? You're going to feel that's more spammy versus if I send you a message that says, hi, this is Robin. You shown interest that you were interested in this. Can I talk, can I give you a call later today?
Yeah.
That's a little bit more personal. And so it doesn't come across as spammy. So building that personal effect into it and being strategic on the times that you send people based on human characteristics, that's going to be the solution. So you're not spammy.
I see. And so are you using AI and machine learning to personalize the messages, or is it more sort of manual process right now?
Yeah, so it is, we're not using AI per se from how we respond back. We have canned responses, but usually they're short. It's,
I see.
Hey, we saw that you were interested in this. Can I give you a call later today?
Okay.
Now, what we are looking for from an AI perspective is the response back. Usually when you send a question, it's usually a yes or no. And the AI is kind of built around that. And that's how we're kind of solving, the response automation.
Got it. And does this only work for inbound leads, or do you do something to actually generate those leads as well?
Yeah, so the cool thing that we're seeing with our platform is using things like database reactivation. The easiest people to sell to are people that have purchased from you in the past, right? So if you take that list, if you have a list of, 2,000 people, 5,000, 20,000 people, you can import that into our platform and be able to do an outbound email or an outbound text message, even outbound calls, right? Or ringless voicemail. And building in that human characteristic to it, you'll be able to re-engage your audience at a very direct process to re-engage them to sale or consultation again.
Great. And I was just talking on another interview yesterday, and it sounded like, small to mid-sized businesses or people who are starting off, like tech startups, they are not too active in digital marketing. They're not like, they're not up to speed on what is happening, what are the latest and greatest tools available to them. How do you find the market? How do you see it? Like, are the businesses, they are getting more aware of these techniques, or they still have a long way to go?
Yeah, I think businesses are aware that techniques and channels are available. Like everyone knows about Facebook, everyone knows about Google and that. I think it's how do we potentially monetize out of it, which is ultimately we don't have a strategy. Like we know that we need to advertise. And so you'll see small businesses, startups and all that. It's like, oh yeah, we boosted a post. Well, why did you boost that post? No one really talks about like, what were you trying to accomplish out of it? Now, ultimately startups, we just want business at the end. But like, if you talk about micro commitments, what is that small little thing that you want them to do by boosting a post or getting ads out there to the right people? A small micro commitment. With that micro commitment, what's the next micro commitment? And you just lead them all the way to actual sale. So it's that strategy that people are missing.
I see. So do you work, when you work with new clients, do you also work on strategy, or it's more of a self-serve platform where they have to come up with a strategy and implement it?
Yeah, so on our software side, we deliver that to agencies, as they're the ones that typically have the strategy. They understand the process and they implement that for their clients. Now with our agency side, with InnovateFast, we actually are the same way. We come in, we build out that strategy. And now that strategy could be dependent on, what channel, whether it's doing a database reactivation or sending Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever that channel is. Like, we have to figure all that out. And then what are those micro commitments? Now our backend tool to really be the engine to power it all will be our software, typically, to make sure that the conversion happens on the backend.
Got it. And now I was reading some of your posts on LinkedIn, and in one of them you recommend using Facebook ads over Google ads. And obviously I talked to a lot of digital marketers, and everybody seems to have a different opinion about that. So can you explain, why do you prefer Facebook ads over Google ads?
Yeah, so it's interesting. There's two ways to look at it. And one of the ways that I really like to position it to people is, are you an intent-based business or a behavior-based business? And what I mean by that is, are you like service-related businesses, let's say a plumber or an electrician? I need an electrician. My toilet is broken. My water is not working. They're actually with intent looking for something. And those businesses tend to do a lot better on Google. Now, the problem there is there are a lot of people also in that same market who are competing for that viewership. And so the cost is a lot higher, but the quality is there. Now, when you get into other sorts of businesses, say like in the medical space, or something where there's not a lot of intent in getting it done right now, behavior-based stuff is a little bit better for Facebook. On that channel, leads are a lot lower cost, but sometimes the quality of those leads are not as strong. So if you're looking for a volume play who don't have a lot of intent, Facebook is a good start. Now you can eventually build that intent and that quality up as you bring them into a micro commitment into, let's say, a website or a funnel or something, and have a quiz or filtering out questions and stuff. That's how you increase it over time. But if you just talk about the platforms in general, Facebook is a cheaper leads, quality, and is a little bit lower, but you can do really well from an ROI perspective if you have kind of the back end built. With Google, it's intent driven. It's the right people who want the service right now, but it's a lot higher of a cost.
Got it. All right. So, the theme of the show is bootstrapping your dreams. And we typically, talk to entrepreneurs, we talk to professionals who want to uplift their careers and make progress. So if somebody's just starting off in terms of launching their tech startup or launching a company, what is your recommendation? What should they do in terms of digital marketing? And remember, when people are bootstrapping, they don't have a lot of investment or resources to put into paid ads. So what is your recommendation in terms of balancing all this out so that they can get the best bang for their buck?
Yep. So one of the best things that I recommend is, everyone has a $1,000 plus phone, right? Mm-hmm. And these phones nowadays take 4K video. And so being able to document your thoughts, your positioning, what you're doing, and how you're doing it, and just putting it out as video content, it's very easily consumable, and it's repurposable for advertising. You can also extract the audio and turn it into a blog or a podcast or something like that. I think just being able to leverage video is the first step that a business can easily take without a lot of overhead and a lot of needs behind it. And then from there, if you talk about low cost and bootstrapping, spending $15 to $20 and just boosting it to your ideal audience. Now, it doesn't give you the deep targeting features that you can do with Facebook ads, but at least it's a good start in getting it out there. And then being able to leverage tools such as pixeling and stuff like that Cool thing with Facebook, they really want people to start leveraging their boost feature. And so if you boost it to your ideal audience, Facebook, just in that basic concept, allows you to say, I want to build up an audience of people who have watched at least 20% of my video or 50% of my video. So now when you do your second piece of content, you can boost it to people who have only seen or who have seen 50% or more of that video, because they show a little bit of interest, right? And now it's just giving those people more and more content. And so if you want something quick, dirty, easy way to get it out there is take video and boost it, put it up on other channels like YouTube, and just keep putting out more content. That's an easy way to get started.
That's amazing. That I completely agree with that. And with so many mediums available these days, video. You mentioned video, podcast, blogs, social media. The more content you can put out, the more value you can provide is good for your brand. But now, here one more question arises. A lot of people are shy. They don't want to come in front of the camera, or they hate their voice, how it sounds like once it's recorded. So what do you say to them?
That's a hard one. And the reason I say it's a hard one is because if you're actively trying to start a business, how are you going to sell if you don't feel comfortable positioning your brand and your product? I do think that people love the authenticity of a video that you're doing yourself, right? Like even as we're having this conversation, I'm stuttering, I'm saying the ums and ahs and all that. I don't think people have the expectation of, if you're putting up content, mostly on social platforms, that you have to be perfect. So it's okay, to stutter and mess up and have pauses and things like that. But it takes time to get comfortable to it. So I think just putting content out there over and over again, your first couple of videos are not going to be the best. People will follow your journey. And sometimes your best clients say, you know what, I've been following you since you started, and I've been growing along with you. And you've, 2 years later, you've grown your business and all that. I've grown my business, and now I'm ready to work with you. I've seen what you've done. You're ready for me, and I'm ready for you.
Yeah, that's an amazing piece of advice. Yeah, I mean, when you start off, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just get it done, get it going. And then over time, of course, like with anything in life, you get some feedback, you look at your own mistakes, and you learn from it. So it's a process that you just need to get through. And, it's better to start today than to delay it any further.
Exactly.
All right, great. Now, is there anything else that you may want to share with the audience about digital marketing and automation?
Yeah, just as what we were talking about, start out in small little bits and work your way up. Don't feel like you have to build your whole strategy and accomplish the whole strategy at once. If you are, in startup mode, just figure out, like, if you're going out to someone who's never heard your product, what is something small that they can do to start getting into your business ecosystem, right? It doesn't mean that they're going to go all the way to purchase right away, but what is that small little thing? Maybe it's as simple as watching my next video, right? Watching your next video, go to this website. On this website, when you're there, try to capture their email address and just work your way down until you can get them on a call, or you can get them into purchasing. But know that it's a lot of steps along the way, but just break it down into small little segments and work your way up.
Great. All right. So now let's talk about your entrepreneurial journey. You mentioned that, you obviously built a company, sold it, which was running servers and whatnot. And now in your current venture, you first tried to build a product for businesses, and you pivoted and you realized that, agencies will be a better target. Have you made any other mistakes? And if so, what were they, and how did you overcome them, and what did you learn from them?
Yeah, I would say one of the big mistakes that I've made, mostly on the marketing side, is undercharging and undervaluing myself. A lot of times it's, if we are coming in as the business that's helping another business grow, we shouldn't have to necessarily shortchange ourselves. And usually when a client is asking to, be that low cost option and solution, they're typically not one to take what you're offering them as serious as possible. And that was something that I just didn't realize until later on down the road. The other thing that a mistake that I made was getting into the feast and famine, which is searching for these huge projects and stop selling and focus on the delivery. And in reality, the way that I worked out of it was, starting to bring on people, whether it was contractors, full-time resources, employees, building a team so that I can continue selling while the delivery is happening. Now, in that process, mistakes happen. But one of the biggest fundamentals I learned from that was what I have in my mind of 100% delivery, I could drop that down to 70%. And that's still a client's 110%, because we're all perfectionists, right? We want to over deliver to our clients. Mm-hmm. And really sometimes we just overdo it in our mind because we feel like that's all that we can do with our clients. And so once I kind of lowered my personal expectations a little bit, we were still over delivering, mostly when I started giving it off to my team to just handle. And so it was passing on to my team while I continued on sales.
Got it. And how did you start the company? Did you bootstrap this business as well?
Yeah, bootstrapped the business. I actually, for a while, was working as a consultant for another company, and on the side was working, building up this business. And it just got to a point of time, right? Mm-hmm. The other business I was doing really well, but I knew that there was more potential, but I needed to dedicate more time into it. So kind of sucked it up and, just went full on into this. It hurt for a couple of months, but I think that drove me a little bit more, knowing that I needed to solve it. And I feel like I haven't solved it yet. I hope I never solve it. Like, it's just constant new problems and new echelons that we have to keep hitting along the way.
Yeah, for sure. And are there any lessons that you learned from your bootstrapping experience, specifically, how to maybe optimize your resources, or, as you said, get motivated to solve this problem? What are some of the key pieces that you learned from that experience?
Yeah, one of the things in bootstrapping that I didn't take as seriously that I should have, which is interesting, is that we tell our clients, like, you need to be allocating marketing budget, whether it's 10% of your overall, 30% or whatever, like all the money that you make from an ROI perspective, you should be pumping back into advertising, and it turns into this big vicious cycle, right? They call it the flywheel effect. And ironically, we weren't doing that for our business in bootstrapping it. So I wish, like, early on, I just took every single dollar I made and ran it back into advertising, so that we're not in this feast and famine mode. We're just constantly doubling up over and over again, and it just starts spinning faster. It took I didn't make that conscious decision until after I went full time into the business. And then from there, it was we went down a little bit because I wasn't used to taking money away from the pie to run back into advertising to grow even more.
Great. And I believe you also have a podcast. Is that right?
No, I do not, actually. I enjoy joining other people's podcasts, and
sure.
We have too many things going on at once that I can't have another podcast.
Sure. All right. So how can people reach out to you? What is your company website address, and what kind of services you can help them with?
Yeah, so we're a full service marketing agency. You can check us out at InnovateFast.com. And if you are a marketing agency looking for some software, you can check us out at gohighlevel.com.
Awesome. That's great. So I'll add those links to the show notes so that people can reach out to you easily.
Awesome.
All right, great. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your views about marketing and how to bootstrap companies. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me on.
Thanks. And that's all for now. Until next time. And if you're an existing or an aspiring tech entrepreneur, then I invite you to check out my new online workshop, Bootstrapping Your Tech Startup Dreams. Go to bootstraptechstartup.com and sign up for free. I want to make sure that more successful and sound decisions are made every day in your tech projects. Let's start finding solutions to your problems. So go to bootstraptechstartup.com, and I look forward to helping you with your tech projects. If you want more engaging videos and insightful interviews with industry's thought leaders, then check out other videos we have picked for you. The link is right there. And if you want to be notified about our new content, please do consider subscribing to our channel.